John, thanks for coming back to us. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Technical gremlins, of course, always a problem. John, why do you want to see about 80% of learners, at least, who are still rotational learning at schools, back in the system, on the ground, at their desks?
Because when making decisions, the rights of the child should be paramount. And unfortunately, the voice of children have not been heard when the government has been making these regulations. We now have a situation where one of the key drivers of inequality in South Africa is lack of quality education. And it is disproportionately affecting poorer schools in poorer communities, where they've lost up to half of their school time in the last year and a year and a half. And so this, I believe, is going to be, if it's not remedied quickly, one of the longest lasting and deeply dangerous effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in South Africa. The reality is schools should have been opened a long time ago. And the minister's frankly being disingenuous with saying, oh, well, she agrees with the DA's call now. In July of last year, the Ministerial Advisory Committee advised that all schools should be opened because they understood the devastating impact that the closure of schools and the loss of learning time is going to have on the interests and rights of the children to be protected, and for us to allow them to build a better future for themselves in an economy that is really constrained.
John, a lot of people would agree with you that children should be back at school, not only because of learning, but because of nutritional issues. It's probably, for some children, the only food that they're going to get during the day, for instance, from school feeding schemes. But is the case not moot now, considering that Cabinet should announce next week that rotational learning comes to an end?
Well, we'd like it announced far sooner. The school year this year should not have even started with rotational learning in place. As I said, the Ministerial Advisory Committee advised the government in July last year to open schooling up, understanding the devastating effect, as you say, particularly on nutrition. For many children in poorer communities, the school meal they get is their only decent meal in a day. When you've got children coming to school every second day or a few times a week, it's obviously affected the malnutrition levels, but also the incredible dropout rate from learners who have simply dropped out of the system. We're not going to stop the case until government has clearly put its flag in the sand and given a complete date when schools will be reopened and get it moving. They've been sitting on their hands since July last year on the information from the Ministerial Advisory Committee. They haven't acted on it. And it's unfortunate that 3 weeks ago, I wrote to President Ramaphosa saying to him that we would like him to open schools. We have not even had the courtesy of a response. We indicated in a statement 2 weeks ago that if the department didn't open up, it was our intention to go to court. There was no response from them then. Only now, once we've made an urgent application, is the minister now backpedaling and saying, oh, well, they agree and we must do this. So we're going to keep the pressure up until those schools are open, because those children need a voice at the table, and we intend to give it to them.
John, I'm going to change tack now because I've got you on the line. This issue of Albert Fritz, the MEC in the Western Cape that's been suspended pending an investigation, and some of his staff members. Do you have any clarity for us on whether the charges being investigated against him are of a sexual nature?
I'm not aware of that. I know there are allegations. The first I was informed of it was on Sunday afternoon when I was rung by the Premier to inform me of the action he intended to take that evening. I think, like with all allegations, they will need to be tested. But the Premier did indicate to me that these are serious allegations. And we, therefore, as both the Premier as well as us as an organisation, have taken it very seriously. Minister Fritz has been immediately suspended from both his MEC position and also his leadership of the Western Cape. The Premier has called for an independent investigator to probe those charges. And if Minister Fritz is guilty, or there is significant evidence that is corroborated, then we will not hesitate to take whatever action we need to, both criminally and organisationally, against the minister concerned. I think it's important to note that any institution, it's very difficult to shield or prevent this type of thing from occurring. But I think when it does occur, you've got to act quickly and decisively. And I'm confident that the Premier has done so. And I think he's made the right decisions. And we have backed him. And obviously, we are as keen to bring this investigation to conclusion as quickly as possible, so that if there are victims that have been prejudiced or harmed, that we can start the process of making sure that they see justice, and also then making sure that this type of thing does not happen in government departments again.
Thank you so much. That's DA leader John Steenhuisen talking to us about going to court to get children back in the classrooms, and of course the scandal that's happening in the Social Development MEC's office here in the Western Cape.